Hi, David. Thank you so much for being here today with us.
Thank you. Great to be here.
I appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Well, our viewers have a lot of questions.
Okay.
We have so many people here that are brand new with LifeWave, and they want to know who you are. What's your background? What's your purpose in life? What's your mission? Why did you start LifeWave? And all the other questions we're going to cover during this interview. I know for me personally, when I met you for the first time 3 years ago, I was mind blown. I couldn't believe what I'd heard on video before seeing you in person and listening to you share the information about LifeWave, your background, and what this had done for people. I knew I had to be a part of this company. And we have so many people that are brand new with LifeWave. Could you just give them a little bit of background, where you came from, how did you become an inventor, and bring us up to speed with the start of LifeWave?
Okay, that's a lot to cover. I'll do my best. So I wanted to be an inventor from the time when I was very young, maybe 7 or 8 years old. And I got myself in a lot of trouble taking apart my mom's appliances and my dad's hardware that he had in a workshop in the basement. And I was very inquisitive, and I knew very early on that I wanted to be an inventor. My parents had taken me to the workshop of Thomas Edison. I grew up in New Jersey, and Thomas Edison's workshop was in Menlo Park, not very far from where we lived. So we went there, and when we were leaving, I said to my dad, I want to be an inventor. And my father said, well, there's no such job. And I thought, well, Thomas Edison was an inventor. What are you talking about? So I had this dream and this desire, but I really didn't know how was this going to manifest. How was I going to get to doing that in my life when you couldn't go to high school or college, to be an inventor? But I would say through a lot of prayer and patience and persistence, doors eventually began to open up. And I think that's very important when people have dreams. You should work hard and pursue those dreams to be fulfilled. So in college, I got a degree in computer science and management, and then later went back for a degree in biology. And I had done cancer research in school. I had spoken with Dr. William Ventura, went to school in New York at Pace University, and I convinced him to give me a lab so I could do this research, and was able to get a grant from a company in New Jersey and a donation from the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and began to research 2 different types of tumor lines in immunogenic and non-immunogenic neuroblastoma. And through this research, what I was interested in finding out was whether or not it would be possible to selectively destroy cancer cells versus healthy cells. And I was doing this with electromagnetic fields by attempting to depolarize the voltage across the cell, which ended up being successful. And this was very important because later on, when I was doing work for the Navy through government contractors, I went back and was thinking about the electrical properties of the cell. And eventually, after 3 years of research into finding ways to improve people's energy, I came up with this idea that if we could use the electrical properties of the cell, we could have a communication device that could essentially tell the cells to burn more fat and produce more energy. So that's, I'm leaving out a lot of details, but that's some of the behind the scene things for LifeWave.
And so you started initially with our first patch, the energy enhancer.
Yes.
And so how did that come about?
So that came about through something that would have seemed, very unlikely. I had a company, a small company with a group of guys called Advanced Applications Group, and we were located up in the mountains of Georgia in Dahlonega. And essentially what we were doing was developing survival equipment for the crew of submarines. And some of the contributions that I made were developing new methods to generate hydrogen for fuel cells and these battery hybrids. I developed an emergency oxygen supply. And the key thing we were working on was a power generation system you would use on a sub if you had to take the nuclear reactor offline. And the power generation system was unique because we had a turbine that didn't have any blades in it, which seems like an oxymoron. And we had a combustion chamber that it would operate at about 2,500, 3,000 degrees, but you could put your hand on it while it was running. Wow. And the way that it did this was that we would create a vortex spiral inside of the combustor, and this would force all the heat essentially to the center of the combustor. And one day I was driving out of the mountains and I was going around Lake Lanier, and I thought that there must be a vortex movement inside of the cells. And I couldn't find anything in the literature that would suggest that that was the case. But as I began to visualize the cell, I could picture a vortex around it. So I thought if we could develop a device to interface with this vortex, if it was there, then we would have a way of communicating with the cell. So I began to work on this idea and concept, and it took several years, but eventually I figured it out.
And that is our energy enhancer
patches. That's the energy patches. So essentially, the energy patches will stimulate the skin with light, and they'll turn on beta oxidation. And this is a basic function of the mitochondria, which allows the mitochondria to burn more fat for energy as opposed to carbohydrates. And we validated this through a number of studies.
Okay, and I remember listening to my very first video before I met you in person back in 2021, I guess it was now. And I was in the car with my son. He was 16 at the time. And you were sharing that story and how you invented these patches and using them with the Navy SEALs. And of course, then went on to work with Richard Quick. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, and my son was a basketball player at the time in high school, and he said, well, if there's something out there that's good enough for the SEALs and the Olympians, I need it immediately for the court.
Yeah, working with Coach Quick was absolutely extraordinary. And it was also really what got me interested in network marketing. I didn't have a good experience with networking. I had been at a group of friends in college, and myself and another one of my friends, we did not want to go the traditional route of working for, a company like IBM or another big company and spending 30 or 40 years there. So we looked at all different types of entrepreneurial endeavors, and we went to a few network marketing meetings, and I was kind of underwhelmed. So when I started LifeWave, I was really thinking about going a more traditional route, advertising on TV or radio. And the way that I met Richard Quick was I had lunch with a friend, and this friend referred me over to a guy that he did business with, and that guy referred me over to a medical doctor who interviewed me, and then that medical doctor introduced me to a fellow named Carl Merritt, who's a medical doctor in California, and Dr. Merritt introduced me to Richard Quick, all through networking. Yeah, so that, hit me like a rock over the head. But Coach Quick was absolutely, I could not say enough good things about him. Really remarkable guy. And the main thing that he was interested in was protecting the health of his athletes. It had to be safe, but he also wanted to stay on the cutting edge. So for a fellow that was a 6-time U.S. Olympic coach, staying on the cutting edge but doing it safely was his concern. So he was investigating a lot of things. And so I flew out to California to meet with him, to speak with his swimmers. And during the trial, the first 3 weeks, 6 out of the 8 swimmers that used the patches broke their personal lifetime best in their event. And Tara Kirk, who's on the team, a remarkable woman, she broke the world record in the 50-meter breaststroke.
The world record, using the energy enhancer patches.
Using the energy patches, yeah. And the funny thing was, this is when we were still in the experimental phase with the construction of the patch. And the adhesive that we were using back in 2003, 2004 was not as good as the one we're using today. So the way Tara Kirk found out that the patches were working is she used them, she was doing well with them, and then the patches came off in the pool and she wasn't swimming as well. And she's like, oh, I guess these things really do work. So, yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. So we have a lot of people here in our audience that are watching today that are entrepreneurs. And you mentioned that. You always had that entrepreneurial spirit, and you were maybe not so much about network marketing.
Right.
And I know when I was first introduced, yes, sign me up, I'm in. I was all for it. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
My mom sold Tupperware. You know, we had Amway under the counter, but that's all I knew growing up. I didn't have any bad taste in my mouth. So I just thought this is going to be a great way to be a stay-at-home mom and earn income for my kids.
Yeah.
So for the people in the audience, can you tell them you chose LifeWave to be a network marketing company because of this step-by-step coincidences that happened, right? This series of events. So you started the company. How did that look in the beginning as you were just starting out? I recently heard you on a video say those first 6 months were really rough. And I think some of our brand partners may be able to relate to that. In the beginning, was it just all puppy dogs and ice cream cones?
It was real. I wish it was both of those, because I love both of those. We have 3 dogs in our family, so that would be great. No, it was, the first 6 months was incredibly difficult. There was no money coming in, and I was going and speaking with personal trainers, coaches, athletes, acupuncturists, medical doctors, scheduling appointments with basically anybody that I could talk to try the product. I was trying to figure out how to do the marketing, how to set up the manufacturing, because there was nothing in place at that time. And it was really, really difficult. And I think maybe I got about $50,000 into debt on the initial startup. And then after that, some things started to happen, and more people were becoming interested, and things started to move at that point. And then the breakaway moment was when the Olympic athletes at Stanford were seen on TV using the patches. And it was in August of 2004, I think we did $35,000 in sales, which was a huge deal for us at that time. And about 1,000 people came forward and said, I'd like to distribute this product. So it was very clear that networking was going to be the path forward. And then in our first month in sales as a networking company in November of 2004, we did about $500,000 in sales.
Wow. So
we were off to an incredible start.
So
what changed my mind, though, about networking is that as the company began successful, I saw people where they would come into the business, someone spent $100, others would spend $500 to enroll, and very quickly they would start earning a lot of money. And I began to appreciate the power of this, that the company had put up hundreds of thousands of dollars at that point to establish the manufacturing, do the clinical studies, do all the regulatory work and the legal work. The software to drive the network was expensive, setting up order fulfillment, that an individual that gets involved in networking doesn't have any of those expenses. It's a mature system, and they can come in and share the product with others and earn a lot of money in a short period of time. And of course, people today don't have to go through the hardships that I went through when starting the business, which is awesome.
It is. And you know, my husband Brent's a general contractor, so he owns his own business. He always has. And usually once a month, he will remind me, do you realize you have no overhead? You have no liability. You have no workers' comp. you don't have to worry about anything. You just order the patches you love every month, and we make this kind of money from LifeWave, from helping people with this technology. And that's such a gift to be able to, that you have provided for the hundreds of thousands, I don't know how many distributors we have globally, thousands of people, that you've provided this gift for all of us to be able to go and help people and provide for our families at the same time.
Well, it's certainly a collaborative effort. There's no way that LifeWave could have done any of this if it hadn't been for the leadership in the business and the amazing community of people that we have. And it's certainly been an incredible journey. I would like to say that we started and then we didn't have any problems and everything was great, but it was really you know, a lot of hard work. 15 years of 15 years of building the business, creating a stable foundation to get to the point where in 2018, when we launched X39, that we could have this growth and everything would be stable. And that growth that we've had would collapse a lot of businesses. But because we had spent so many years building up the manufacturing and the infrastructure, everything worked the way it was supposed to.
Yeah, and during that time, you've invented other patches before X39, so that's why people will see other types of patches in our product line. So let's talk about that X39. You know, where did that, because it didn't just happen 5 years ago that it was released.
No.
So where did that come from during this 15-year period of solidifying this company?
Yeah, so this has really been an evolution where the energy patches were never intended to be put into the public domain, but because of 9/11, I decided to take the technology public because the military was just interested in weapons at that point. So fortuitously, that all worked out. And then as I began to devote full-time into LifeWave, I began to look at what other type of mechanisms could we tap into. So that's when the glutathione patch, the carnosine patch, Eon patches were developed. But in the late 2000s, the research team in San Diego, where we were based at the time, I began to talk to them about what the future was going to look like and what areas of research we should get into. And I wanted to go in the direction of stem cell therapy, but to do it in a way where instead of injecting stem cells, we could somehow activate the stem cells that were already in the body. And the initial idea that I was blessed with, downloaded with, was this idea. I had this vision of this coil that looked like DNA, but wrapped into a circle. And I went and spoke with one of our engineers and said, hey, I want you to take a strand of DNA and model it and make it look like a toroid, which he went ahead and did. And then we began to 3D print these coils and then wrap them with wire and do these experiments. And it became evident that this was a special type of field that could influence the cells in the body. We then, because our manufacturing is in Ireland, we then reached out to the National University of Ireland in Galway, where they have a regenerative medicine institute that specializes in stem cell therapy. And I went and gave a presentation to Dr. Tim O'Brien, who's the director of that institute. And Dr. O'Brien is a medical doctor, and his specialty is in diabetes. So he had said to me that the worst thing that he has to do as a medical doctor is tell his patient that they need to amputate. And so I thought, okay, this would be a great application for this. If we could somehow activate the stem cells in the body to regenerate the nerves, the peripheral nerves, then maybe we could reverse diabetic neuropathy, and that would be huge. We later went on and did that. We did 2 studies with Dr. Norm Shealy.
Wow.
And we found that an additional study with Dr. Glenn Ryan, and we found that we could, in fact, with this approach, activate the stem cells in the body and cause new nerves to grow. And the problem with all this was that it was expensive, and we were going to need a boatload of money to get through regulatory, probably about $100 million.
Whoa.
And it was going to take 10 years, we estimated. So I had to go back and look at how can we get this into the hands of people that so that it's safe, it's effective, and everyone can afford it. And what happened next, you know, I'm a big Iron Man fan.
Yes.
I feel like what God did was put me into a cave, the way Tony Stark was put into a cave, which I'm very grateful about. I was in a meeting in San Diego, and things at LifeWave were difficult financially. We had had this crash of our computer system, and it was a rough time. And I was in a meeting, and there was a lot of tension in the room. And I was sitting back and looking at some of the executives argue about a few things. And I thought, I'm so tired of being on the defense. I want to be on the offense again in the business. And I've got to figure out this problem. So I went back and I looked through all of my notes, and then it became evident to me about how to solve this issue, and it was going to be through copper peptide. So I had to have an innovation in the way the patches work, though, to get to that point. And then, of course, once the prototype patch existed, we had to do a study to figure out whether or not this was going to do what it was designed to do. And there were no blood tests where you could just go and test people's levels of copper peptide. We had to spend 9 months doing that. So when eventually we solved all those problems, we had the patches, and I knew they were going to work, I scheduled a call with the leaders at the time, and you never know how people were going to react. And I said, okay, well, we've got this patch, and it activates stem cells. What do you guys think? And they got really excited about it, which was the reaction that I was hoping for. And then about a month later, I'll never forget it. David Jumper, who has been with the company from the very beginning, and I owe him an enormous debt of gratitude for everything he's done. And I couldn't say enough great things about him. At the time, his wife was debilitated, and she was in extraordinary pain. And he had thought, I can't believe that we're getting into retirement age, and this is going to be the life that she's going to have. And 3 weeks after using X39, she was up off the sofa, out of pain, and she had gotten her life back.
Wow.
And David said to me that he was going to do everything possible to see that the company would be successful, which he went and did. So it's been an extraordinary journey. There's so many things that I feel so blessed about. But that was really the beginning of the X39 journey and how we got to where we are today.
Right, which is almost a $500 million company.
We're over that.
We are over the $500 million now.
We are, yeah. We're
hearing that first right now.
Well, I'd say we're at that run rate. If we took a look at our the rate of sales that we have this year, we're going to be above last year's sales by about 50%.
Wow.
In that range. So the growth is extraordinary.
It is.
Yeah.
We are so grateful to be a part of that.
Same.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, God.
Thank you, God.
Every day.
Yeah.
So for our viewers out here that don't really even understand how the patch works, I think that's probably one of the hardest things for people. How do I explain this technology? How do I understand it? How do I explain it in a way that other people can understand what I'm saying? So can you give them a little bit, just a quick little, this is what the patch has in it, this is what it does, and this is what we typically see.
Yeah, so, well, there's a simple way and there's a more complicated way.
So let's do the simple way for our viewers first, and then we can do the more complicated way.
Okay, so the simple way is the patches contain organic materials that are activated by body heat. The patches then stimulate the skin with very low levels of light, and this turns on production of copper peptide. And copper peptide naturally occurs in the body, but it declines with age. And some of the things that this will do is improve the metabolism, improve energy and the flow of energy. It helps to manage inflammation. It helps to improve recovery, and it also improves sleep. So there's a whole host of benefits from elevating copper peptide.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the simple
fantastic.
explanation.
That's simple.
That's
Okay.
the simple one.
And we put this patch on in the morning when we get up.
Right.
And we leave it on 12 hours.
Right.
And then we take it off. Do we use it again the next day?
No.
No.
We don't use it again the next day because the product is a clean product. And if a person were to take the patch after it had been used and, let's say, apply it to skin that had been broken, there's a risk of getting a cut, open skin infected. So that's one of the reasons. And then the other is the patches will last roughly about a day or so. So they're intended to be disposable. They will go inactive over a period of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we wear that just 12 hours on, 12 hours off.
12 hours on, 12 hours off.
Brand new one the next day.
Yep, that's right.
Perfect. So you just mentioned with the skin, if there was a cut or an abrasion or something, what if someone uses a patch and they have a little rash or reaction around that area from the patch?
Yeah.
Why is that, and what should they do?
Yeah, so there's several reasons as to why that might occur. The first is that about 1 in 10,000 people will be allergic to the adhesive. So if someone is allergic to a Band-Aid, they may want to apply the patch to clothing instead of directly to the skin. The adhesive that we use is a 3M acrylate hypoallergenic product, but still some people, very, very few people, will be allergic to it. The other reason is kind of interesting, and this is a phenomena that doctors see in acupuncture, is that the patch is designed to trap body heat. So if you leave it on too long, it can create a heat rash, which will go away when it's removed. The other thing that will happen is that the patch improves the flow of energy through the body. And in acupuncture, if you put a needle into an acupuncture point for too long, that area will become red and irritated. And it's the body's way of saying, hey, you're overstimulating me. So in some cases, that's what it's from. It's from overstimulation. And in all cases, just remove the patch, drink some water, and give that spot a rest.
Okay, perfect. So you mentioned water. Let me ask real quickly, why is water important when we're using LifeWaves patches?
So, as people age, the amount of water in the body begins to decline, and water is necessary for producing energy and also for elimination of cellular waste and toxins. And most people today, unfortunately, they don't drink enough water, or they drink too much coffee or tea and they become dehydrated. So the simple answer is that unless we have enough water in the body, we can't make energy, we can't detoxify. So this is why we recommend that people drink enough clean water each day so their body can make enough energy, and they're going to get the best results with the patches.
Do you think there's any kind of water that's better than the other?
That's a trick question. Yeah, there actually is. So I've been studying different types of structured water for many, many years now. So there have been some good products that have been on the market, like Willard water, for example, is one that goes back to the 60s and 70s. And basically with products like this, generally speaking, they will reduce the surface tension of the water. And what this does is that it allows the water to penetrate the cell and deliver better hydration. Those products are fine, but they have their limitations. So in our labs, one of the projects that we've been working on for many, many years is coming up with a better way to create a water with anti-aging properties.
Wow, that sounds interesting.
I think it's interesting.
Yes.
I think it's very interesting.
I love water.
Yeah, I enjoy it too.
Yes,
Yeah.
wonderful. So a lot of our viewers have the question, because of our population with the patches, yes, like I mentioned, my son loves them at, his young age, and of course I do. I'm super young and youthful, thanks to the patches. But the people that are using the patches in their 50s, 60s, 70s, they want to know about contraindications. Sometimes they're on medications, or maybe they're using different types of supplements, and they want to make sure there are no interactions with what they're using and the patches. Is that a possibility?
So the first thing is I'm not a medical doctor, and we don't provide any medical advice. So we have to legally recommend that if someone has medication that they're taking, if they have a medical condition, they should ask their healthcare practitioner first. So light therapy, one of the advantages to it is that it's inherently safe. And we're only turning on systems that naturally occur in the body anyway. So if we took an example, let's say many people might like to have a surgery-free facelift. So the FDA the FDA has approved the use of, let's say, 660 nanometer light, and you can go to a dermatologist and put your face into a bank of these orange-colored lights, and that has been clinically demonstrated to turn on collagen to reduce lines and wrinkles. We have our own approach to doing it. But the point is that the light therapy is doing something that the body is already designed to do, make energy, make collagen. So that makes the patches inherently safe. Now, on the other hand, if someone is taking medication, we won't have a study to show that our patches are safe with that medication. So they should get approval from their doctor.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Now, the other question I get, because the first person I patched, the reason I found out about LifeWave was because of my daughter, Taylor. And Taylor was in a wheelchair and nonverbal and required full care. So a lot of people ask about patching children. I didn't think twice about it. I watched your video, that 50-minute video, and I bought a sleeve from a wellness center in Sarasota, and I immediately got home and put that right on the back of her neck, CV7.
Yep.
That's all I needed. I hadn't looked at a study, patent, research, anything. But a lot of parents are concerned. I had been researching stem cells. We did 12 years of stem cell therapy with her, in and out of the country, all different types. Hyperbarics, light therapy, actual injections, laser directed from Germany. So for me, it wasn't a question of, is this safe? It was just, how fast can I get it on her?
Right.
But for parents that want to know, we don't have studies with children. And this is what I always say, but how do you feel about that with someone as a parent choosing to patch their child?
I've put patches on my kids from when they were very young. And since we don't have studies, we have to say that it's up to the parents and pediatrician or doctor. But my general feeling about it is that after doing 80 clinical studies, being at the market for 20 years, as a practical matter, as long as the child is old enough to communicate that they're okay or they get a headache from the use of it, then it's safe to use. So generally the way children would use these is if they have a headache or some type of ache or pain, and parents want to manage the pain without the use of drugs. That's an excellent use for the product. Just today, actually, my wife told me that my stepdaughter, she had gone in for dental surgery, which was pretty serious, and she was in an enormous amount of pain. And my wife applied Ice Wave to both sides of the face, and her pain went to a 0.
Wow.
So she was pretty happy about that. So yeah, I would say ultimately it's a decision for a parent to make, but we haven't seen any type of contraindications that we would be concerned about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Sure.
Well, and along that line, speaking to our doctors, we do have a lot of medical doctors in LifeWave, a lot of surgeons, dentists, chiropractors, many different types of practitioners. Can we give them some information, some advice? I know
Sure.
I've listened to your practitioners' videos in the past. Why would someone that's in the medical profession or any type of holistic type of healing modality, why would they be interested in LifeWave? Why would this be something to incorporate into their practice with their patients?
The patches are a fantastic method for aftercare. So the patches are not going to replace a proper diagnosis from a medical professional or healthcare professional. They're not going to replace chiropractic service or other. But for aftercare, it's phenomenal. So what we, as a company, really like to promote is that an individual needs to develop a strong foundation, get their diet in check, make sure they're exercising, take supplements where needed, manage stress, which I'm not very good at from being a workaholic, and get those pillars, get proper rest, all the things that we know contribute to good health. And then using tools like the patches, you can take your results to the next level. So for a healthcare practitioner, this ends up delivering better satisfaction for their patient. It gives them another way to help manage pain, improve the quality of sleep, improve their energy without having to use stimulants, improve their recovery, and so forth. So the medical doctors that I've spoken with over the years that, let's say, maybe clinical nutritionists, where they're going to be more prone to using natural products, really love the patches because it complements everything else that they're going to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a fantastic tool in your toolbox.
The compliance with the patches is extraordinarily high. So one of the things with clinical studies that clinics normally see is that if you enroll 50 people into a study, maybe you get 45 that complete or 40 people that complete the study. But with LifeWave, because it takes seconds to apply the patch, the compliance is very high. And this is something that's wonderful for practitioners because that's, as you know, one of the most difficult things. You take care of your patient, and then when they leave, maybe they're not taking their supplements or maybe they're not exercising. But with the patches, that's something that's easy and convenient and that they'll do.
I totally agree. And you get tired of looking at the countertop of bottles every day. And you're like, I'm going to do this today. I promise myself. And then you brush your teeth and throw on the patch and go about your day.
Yeah, it's easy. And in our studies, another reason that practitioners would be interested in this is if we use glutathione as an example, let's say that you had an individual and they're having problems with fatigue, they had to detoxify, they had issues with their immune system, and the doctor said, okay, we want to get your glutathione levels up. With supplementation, which I absolutely would recommend, that's going to take quite a while. If someone were on a supplement of glutathione or NAC, maybe it takes a month to build that glutathione level up 15–40%, depending on whether or not they're taking it once or twice a day. With the patches, we've seen people go up as much as 300% in a single day.
Wow.
And that was through blood testing that we did. So, so the patches work incredibly fast. And again, that's great for the patient.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
So I have a question about 39 and 49.
Right.
People want to know, why did you have to invent X49? What is the difference between the two? What's the point of having the two of them together? Does X49 activate the same type of cells that X39 does?
Yeah, so X39 definitely came first, and that is a GHKCU copper peptide. So this copper peptide is based off of glycine, and it's a tripeptide. So it's composed of the amino acids glycine, histidine, and lysine. And part of the magic of the peptide is that it is a very high affinity for binding with copper. And this is what gives it its properties. So the other advantage of GHKCU is that it's ubiquitous. It's found pretty much throughout the entire body. So the results that people will get will tend to be rather systemic. So in our studies, we see people get benefits in the cardiovascular system, in their cognition, health benefits in the brain, health benefits for strength, stamina, recovery, and so forth. X49, on the other hand, when I was looking at what we were going to do with patches as a follow-up to X39, I wanted to see first technically that we could elevate AHK, since it's something like a daughter peptide to GHK. AHK, as the name would imply, is based off of alanine instead of glycine. And alanine is very interesting. I had been studying the effects of carnosine on the body for 15 years. And so I was familiar with alanine metabolism. And alanine is more localized. So when we think of the effects of alanine in the body, we would think in terms of metabolism in the brain, in the heart, in the skeletal muscle, and in the skin, and it also shows up in some other places. But it tends to be more localized than GHK. And, but AHK has some remarkable benefits, as we found. And we did a study with people using just GHK or just AHK and then the combination of the two. And we found that because X49, when it's elevating AHK, metabolizes in the muscle, it appears that it activates the satellite stem cells in the muscle, although we haven't validated that. But, but the proof that we saw was that people gain muscle very rapidly when using X49, and they had remarkable improvements in strength, stamina, and also corresponding decrease in body fat. So the way to think about it is that X39 is good for the entire body, and then there's going to be some very powerful localized benefits of using X49.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
For anyone, not just athletes.
For anyone, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I would say for anyone, because a good way to think about this is that one of the biggest challenges that everyone faces as they age is sarcopenia, the loss of muscle and also the loss of bone density. And that was in fact a study that we did with X49. We did that with Dr. Melinda Connor, and we found that AHK would inhibit the loss of bone and could even increase bone density over a period of time. So as people age, and especially as they get into their 60s and 70s, loss of strength and stamina leads to an increased risk of mortality, all-cause mortality. So if we can do things to preserve muscle mass, preserve bone density, and keep people healthy and strong, then we're decreasing their risk of death.
Wow, perfect.
But we're not making that claim.
Of course
I
not.
should say that we're not making that claim. But it is clinically, it's well known that loss of muscle and bone density leads to all-cause mortality, increased risk of all-cause mortality.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so for our viewers out here, what's to come with LifeWave? What do they have to look forward to? These entrepreneurs that are sitting on the edges of their chairs, just like we are, what do they have to look forward to?
Well, if you were in our labs, you would see some pretty incredible things and get a glimpse for the future. And the key area that we've been researching since the release of X39 in 2018 has been along the lines of what can we do to stop human aging and even reverse the aging process. And this idea, would have seemed like quackery 20 years ago, but now there's billions of dollars that are being invested by large companies into this area, and very prominent and well-known people now are saying, yeah, human beings should have a lifespan into the hundreds of years. So the approach that we take in our research is to look at species that don't age or don't age the same way that human beings would, and see if we can mimic that with technology. So the species that we've studied have been planaria, hydractinia, ants, lobsters, and I'm happy to say we've uncovered some things that other people haven't, and we've been able to figure out how to turn those concepts into new technology.
Wow. And so how can we as brand partners be able to help you with that mission going forward?
I think what I would say is come to the event that we're going to hold in October in Dallas, which is sold out. And our brand partners, our community, will be able to get a look at the future. This is going to be principally what I'm going to be talking about, is this journey that I've been on the last 6 years and what has happened as a result. And the incredible thing is that there are these codes which exist in nature that are responsible for a species like lobster not aging. And I'll share the research that I've accumulated with this, and it gives us a path now to looking at human aging in an entirely different way. So my expectation of what's going to come from this is we'll have new ways to extend lifespan but stay young in the process.
Wow. So to wrap up, David, with all that you have just shared with us, you have accomplished a lot. Over 150 patents plus. You stopped counting.
Stop counting, yeah.
Stop counting.
Yeah.
So what are the 3 most remarkable things that you're proud of in your life?
I don't know if I would characterize it that way, but I would say the first thing is I'm extraordinarily grateful to my God and Creator for blessing me with everything that I have. I feel as if that if I didn't have God in my life, I wouldn't have anything. I wouldn't be anywhere today. And so I really want to give glory to God for everything that I've been blessed with, and to be so fortunate to be associated with the great people that are in LifeWave and to do what we do for a living. I feel extremely blessed that I'm married to a great woman. I have incredible kids, an incredible family. And of course, I'm incredibly grateful for where the company is at today and what we have as the prospects for the future. Because the company now has been so successful, it means that we can take new technology and continue to expand the opportunities for LifeWave. So today, we're a life technology company. But what you'll see in the coming years is that we're going to grow very far past that. As you know, we unveiled a new drone that we've been developing, and that serves as a test bed for several different pieces of technology that we've developed. And eventually, that's going to make its way into our product line. Not that we're going to be selling drones, but there's some really amazing technology that will open up a massive market. And so my goal is to simply create new technology, patent it, make it exclusive to LifeWave, and forge into new territory with technology that's good for the planet and offers our company opportunities that other network marketing companies don't have.
Wow. What a blessing. Thank you so much, David,
for
being here today with us. Thank you for taking the time to record this for all of our viewers that are watching it live, as well as in the future.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.